This is ACT Aspire Mathematics Practice. Number 1. What is an equation of the line perpendicular to the graph of y equals negative 2x plus 5 that passes through the point at 4, 7? First of all, we can describe equations that are perpendicular or parallel to another line by looking at the slope. The slopes of parallel lines are going to be the same because if one of them goes up at a certain amount, the other one goes up at the exact same amount. And vice versa. If one goes down by a certain amount, the other one goes down by the exact same amount. Perpendicular lines, they do intersect. They intersect at 90 degrees. If one goes up, in order for it to intersect at 90 degrees, the other one has to go down. Remember, if a line goes up to the right, it has a positive slope. If a line goes down to the right, it has a negative slope. So when you're talking about perpendicular lines, one's going to have a positive, one's going to have a negative slope. So looking at the equation, y equals negative 2x plus 5, our slope is negative 2 over 1. The slope of the line that's perpendicular to that is going to have the opposite sign. So it's going to be a positive, but the numbers are also flipped. So our slope of our new line is positive 1/2. In order to write the equation, we have to know another point on the line, and we do have one, 4, 7. So I'm going to use the point slope form, which says y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Remember that when you're doing this, the only numbers that are going to, or the only variables that are going to change are y1, m, and x1. The y and the x have to stay there. So I'm going to have y minus y1, which is 7, equals m, which is 1/2, times x minus x1, which is 4. I'll clean this up a bit. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times negative 4 is negative 2. Move that 7 over, just to simplify it a bit. So y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Now if you notice, all of the answers for number 1 are in standard form. The x and the y are on the same side of the equal sign, and there are no fractions. So I've got to get rid of that fraction. And to do that, I'm going to multiply the entire equation by the denominator of that fraction. So I'm going to multiply all the way across by 2. 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 1/2 x is 1x. And 2 times 5 is 10. Now I need to move that x over to the other side. So I have negative x plus 2y equals 10. And notice in the answers, none of the x's are negative. So I need to go through and change all of the signs. Technically, I'll be multiplying all the way across by negative 1, which, remember, multiplying an entire equation just changes the way it looks. So I have x minus 2y equals negative 10, which is answer E. Number 2 says, what is the surface area of a right cylinder of radius 3 meters and height 8 meters? Okay, when you find the surface area, remember it's the area of the whole entire thing. Our radius is 3 meters, and our height is 8 meters. So the surface area, we have the label or the rectangle that goes around the cylinder, and we have the bases. We have both bases. So to find surface area, first we need the area of this rectangle. It is a rectangle. Doesn't look like it, but it's a rectangle. It just wraps around the circle. Since it wraps around the circle, the length of this rectangle is 2 times pi times the radius. And then the width of that rectangle is actually the height of the cylinder, which is 8. what I have done here is done the area of the label. 2 pi r, which r is the radius, measures the circumference or the length of that rectangle, and then the height 8 is the width of that rectangle. I'm going to add that to the area of the bases. The area of that base is pi times r squared, and remember our r is 3. Also remember we got 2 of those bases, so that's 2. And the parentheses doesn't go there, it goes there. So let's simplify. 2 pi times 3 is 6 pi. Three squared is 9. 6 pi times 8 is 48 pi. And the reason I'm keeping pi in here, not substituting 3.14, is because all of my answers have pi in them. So I'm going to leave pi in there and not substitute, not change those. And then 2 times pi times 9, that's 18 pi. So I can combine those. 48 pi plus 18 pi is 66 pi meters squared. So our answer is E again. Okay, number 3 says, what is an equation of the line with a y-intercept of 5 and x-intercept of -3? So first of all, let's find the slope. We have the y-intercept, which is 0, 5, and the x-intercept, which is -3, 0. To find the slope, remember it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to do 0 minus 5 over -3 minus 0. 0 minus 5 is -5. -3 minus 0 is -3. So the slope of this line is positive 5/3. Since the slope of the line is positive 5/3, that eliminates B, D, and E. Our equation in slope-intercept form looks like this. We already know that our slope, M, is 5/3, and we were told in the problem that our y-intercept was 5. B stands for the y-intercept, so we put in a plus 5 there, and that means our answer is C. Okay, number 4 says solve this equation. 0.2 times 0.4 minus x equals 0.6. So first we're going to distribute. 0.2 times 0.4 is 0.08. 0.2 times negative x is negative 0.2x. Then we're going to subtract 0.08 from both sides. And that gives us negative 0.2x equals 0.52. Divide both sides by negative 0.2. And the answer is negative 2.6, which is E. Number 5 says the volume V of a right cylinder may be calculated using the formula V equals pi r squared h, where pi is approximately 3.14. R is the radius and h is the height. Here's our right cylinder. In the right cylinder shown below, the radius and height are labeled in inches. So our radius is 3 inches and our height is 12 inches. Which of the following numbers is closest to the cylinder's volume in cubic inches? So we're just going to take our volume formula and substitute what we know. We know instead of pi, we're going to put 3.14. Instead of r squared, we're going to put 3 squared. And instead of h, we're going to put 12. And we're going to follow the order of operations. 3 squared is 9. And we're just going to multiply straight across. And you get 339.12. The one that's closest to that is C, 339.